Chapter 1. The Dark Web Handshake. The humidity in West Baltimore was thick enough to choke a dog. Inside a row house on North Avenue, the air conditioner hummed a losing battle against the Maryland heat. Jalen, Jigger, Rivers sat hunched over a dual-monitor setup, the blue light reflecting off his glasses. The rest of the crew, Kurt, Tay, Keys, Bolo, Rico, and Jay, were scattered around the room, the smell of cheap weed and Old Bay wings lingering in the air. "Yo, look at this shit," Jigger muttered, his fingers flying across the mechanical keyboard. "Man, if it ain't about money, shut the fuck up," Rico snapped, bouncing his knee. He was itching for a move. "It's about 50 million, nigga. Does that sound like shut the fuck up money?" Jigger spun his chair around. The room went dead silent. He showed them the screen. They were deep in a dark web forum, encrypted 3 times over. A user named Abidemi from Lagos, Nigeria, had posted a request that looked like a joke. He wanted 100 of the new Ameliorate 3X, A3X models. The A3X was the hottest luxury electric vehicle on the market, but it had a fatal flaw, the A3X glitch. You could pop the steering column and start the bitch with a simple USB-A cable. 50 million? Kurt, Harris leaned in, his eyes narrowing. For 100 cars? That's 500 racks a whip. What's the catch? The catch is the clock, Kurt, Jigger said, pointing to the message. He wants M at the Port of Baltimore by December 31st, 2025. Before the first firework hits the sky. He's sending 2 massive cargo ships. We get the cars on the boats. He releases the crypto escrow. Man, that's 2 months, Tay whistled. 100 A3XS? We're gonna have the BPD, the state troopers, and the feds up our ass. This ain't just boosting a Honda on Reisterstown Road. We need more than just us, Jamal J. Thompson said, rubbing his chin. We need eyes in other cities. The A3X is nationwide, but the heat in B-More gonna be too much if we do all 100 here. I got sisters, Jay continued. Cece in LA, Day in Houston, and Zoe in Missouri. They know the streets. If we coordinate, we can hit the whole map and ship M back here to the port. Call M, Kurt commanded. And Rico? Put that damn phone away. I see you recording for the gram one more time. I'm gonna break your motherfucking hand. This ain't for no clout. This is for a lifetime of freedom. Chapter 2, the first hit. The plan started small. They needed a proof of concept. Kurt chose a target in Pikesville, just across the city line, where the money was long and the driveways were wide. Check the tag, Bolo whispered, his heart hammering. He hated this part. He was the moral compass, the one who worried about the single moms or the hard-working fathers. But 50 million was enough to silence any conscience. This looks like a doctor's house, man. Fuck a doctor, Keys growled, his massive frame looming in the shadows of the willow tree. He got insurance. We got a mission. They spotted it. A midnight blue Ameliorate 3X parked on a pristine driveway off Greenspring Valley Road. Jigger signaled from the van. GPS is jammed. You got 60 seconds before the satellite ping tries to reset. Go! Tay moved like a ghost. He used a Slim Jim to pop the lock in 3 seconds. Rico was right behind him, adrenaline leaking out of his pores. They slid inside. The interior smelled like expensive leather and new car scent. Rico pulled a standard iPhone charging cable from his pocket. He ripped the plastic shroud off the steering column, exposing the port. Click. The dashboard glowed neon blue. The silent electric motor hummed to life. "Goddamn, that was easy," Rico cackled, slamming the car into reverse. "This bitch is ours. Keep it down, ho-ho-ass nigger." Tay hissed. "Drive." They peeled out, the silent EV tires screeching against the asphalt. They took the back ways, avoiding 695 and sticking to the darkened cuts through Park Heights. As they pulled into their hidden warehouse near the Dundalk docks, Rico pulled out his phone. The camera flashed bright. "Yo, you'll see this? A 3X boys in the building. We just bagged the first one. I told you to stop recording, you stupid motherfucker." Kurt yelled, lunging for the phone. "Man, it's for the private chat. Chill." Rico defended. But the seed was sown. The video wasn't just in the private chat. Rico had sent it to a girl, who sent it to a friend, and within an hour, the A3X challenge was beginning to flicker across the Baltimore underworld. The heat was officially turning up. Chapter 3, the Zoom call. The next night, the screens were split 6 ways. Jay's sisters were on the line. Sierra Big Cece Thompson sat in her apartment in Crenshaw, LA, looking at her nails. 50 million? Jay, if you lyin', I'm gonna fly to Baltimore and beat your ass personally. You know how many A3XS are sitting in Santa Monica right now? It's like a buffet. Deja Day, Thompson joined from Houston, sitting in a garage off Southmore Boulevard. I already talked to my hitters in the 3rd Ward. We can get you 20 cars by the end of the month. But how we getting them to Maryland? Then came Zoe. She was in St. Louis, Missouri, rocking a head wrap and a puffer jacket. Y'all niggas better be for real. I'm out here on Grand Boulevard, where the police don't play that shit. If I'm gonna risk my neck for some hoe-ass car, the bag better be heavy. Is the African nigger legit? He's legit, Jigga said. He already sent a $500,000 deposit to a Mixer wallet. That's our operating budget. Listen, Kurt took over the screen. Cece, you hit the West Coast. Day, you handle the South. Zoe, you grab what you can from the Midwest. We'll coordinate the car haulers. They'll look like legitimate transport moving used vehicles to the port of Baltimore. We got 2 months. 100 cars. No mistakes. No more social media. If you see a camera, break it. Copy that, Cece said. I'm hitting Rodeo Drive tomorrow. Let's get this money. The call ended. The A3X boys were no longer a neighborhood crew. They were a national syndicate. But in the shadows of Pennsylvania Avenue, a rival gang known as the 9/10ths had seen Rico's leaked video. They recognized the warehouse background, and they wanted a piece of the $50 million. Chapter 4. The Thrill. Rico couldn't help himself. The high of boosting the A3X was intoxicating, but the Rayol rush came from the likes, the shares, the DMs. His private story on Instagram exploded after that first hit. He'd blur out faces and specific street names, but the essence was there. The silent hum of the stolen electric vehicle, the rapid dashboard light-up, the triumphant, adrenaline-fueled getaway. He became a phantom, a legend in the making among the city's youth, especially in the corners of North Ave and Calvert Street, where the hustle was the only way out. Yo, A3X boys just hit Roland Park again, swear to God, he overheard a young cat say at a carryout on Fayette Street. Rico grinned, sipping his fruit punch, feigning disinterest. The thrill was getting bigger than the money for him. He started posting cryptic clues, hinting at the next targets, watching the online buzz intensify. The A3X challenge was everywhere, now spreading beyond Baltimore to other major cities, thanks to his indirect influence. Kurt saw it. Jay saw it. Even Bo Lowe, who tried to ignore the internet, heard the whispers. You still posting that shit, Rico? Kurt cornered him one afternoon in the warehouse, the metallic tang of new A3X interiors hanging heavy in the air. They had 3 more stacked in the back, fresh from Federal Hill. Nah, man, just some old clips. I know the rules, Rico lied, his eyes darting. Kurt's gaze was cold, sharp. Don't lie to me, motherfucker. That last clip, with the blue A3X turning off Key Highway, that was 2 nights ago. You think the BPD ain't got people watching that hashtag? You think the 9/10ths ain't putting 2 and 2 together? It's not hurting nothing, Kurt. It just builds the hype, makes us look more untouchable. Rico argued, his voice rising. Untouchable until your ass is in central booking with a federal indictment, you dumb bitch, Kurt snapped. You think that $50 million gonna save your ass if you're a snitch behind bars because you wanted some likes? Their argument escalated, nearly coming to blows, until Keys stepped in, his massive hand on Kurt's shoulder. Ease up, Kurt. We need him right now. But Rico, you pull that shit again, you ain't just losing your phone, you losing your teeth. Rico simmered, but the warning registered. For a few days, the posts stopped. But the seed of online fame had already taken root, both within Rico and in the wider world. The legend of the A3X boys was growing, but so was the target on their backs. Chapter 5. The First Crack. The pressure was mounting. Days bled into weeks. The sisters were delivering, sending A3XS from Venice Beach and Malibu in LA, from Montrose and River Oaks in Houston, and from Central West End in St. Louis. The Baltimore crew was hitting hard, too, from Mount Washington to Canton, carefully funneling the cars into the discreet warehouses near the port. They had 25 cars now, a quarter of the way there. But the sheer volume of stolen luxury vehicles was starting to draw unwanted attention. Not just from law enforcement, but from the streets. The buzz around the A3X glitch wasn't just about admiration, it was about envy. One evening, after boosting an A3X from a secluded cul-de-sac in Lutherville Timonium, Bo Lowe was agitated. Man, this ain't right, he mumbled, wiping sweat from his brow. We took that from a single mom, Kurt. I saw the kid's car seat in the back. She ain't got insurance for a 50 grand whip. Kurt scoffed. Everybody got insurance, Bo Lowe. And if she don't, That's her problem, not ours. We got 50 million on the line, remember? But at what cost, though? Bo Lo pressed, his voice strained. We started this for survival, man. Now it feels like we just taking from whoever we can. We ain't Robin Hoods, but we ain't supposed to be heartless neither. We ain't taking shit we don't deserve, Keys interjected, his voice firm. This city took from us our whole lives. Now we taking back. Bo Lo shook his head, looking out at the glittering lights of the inner harbor in the distance. I'm just saying, man, we gotta have some kind of line. This ain't gonna end, well, if we just keep snatching everything that ain't nailed down. His words hung heavy in the air. The easy camaraderie of the early days was fading, replaced by a tense, focused drive for the money. The moral lines were blurring, and the cracks in their carefully constructed unity were beginning to show. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to them, the 9/10ths were watching. They had seen the increasing frequency of A3X thefts, the shift in targets from affluent neighborhoods to even middle-class areas. They knew it meant a bigger score was in play. They started sending their own crews out, trying to replicate the A3X glitch. But their attempts were clumsy, drawing attention and leaving a trail. They wanted in, and they were willing to spill blood to get it. Chapter 6. Heat rises. The city was on edge. News reports plastered headlines about the unprecedented spike in Ameliorate 3X thefts. Mayor Wilkes held press conferences on City Hall Plaza, promising increased patrols and task forces. The Baltimore Police Department, in conjunction with state troopers, and even the FBI, launched Operation Ignition, specifically targeting the A3X boys. Detective Harding, a grizzled veteran with 20 years on the force, was leading the BPD's efforts. He was smart, tenacious, and he had a hunch. It's too organized, he told his team in the precinct house on Eutaw Street. These aren't random kids with USBs anymore. This is coordinated. Look at the patterns. They're hitting in waves, sometimes 3 or 4 a night, then nothing for a few days, then hitting in a completely different sector. And the cars disappear. No joyrides. No chop shops in the usual spots. He pulled up a map with red pins marking every A3X theft. They're hitting the rich areas, yeah, but now they're even hitting places like Hamilton and Lauraville. The common denominator? All these cars are the exact same model. And they're all gone, vanished. Someone's collecting them. On the streets, the heat was even hotter. The 9/10ths, frustrated by their own failed attempts to replicate the A3X glitch and seeing the A3X boys' success, decided to escalate. They started running their mouths, trying to shake down smaller crews, claiming ownership of the A3X territory. One night, as Keys, Tay, and Rico were scouting an A3X in Pigtown, a black Cadillac Escalade with tinted windows pulled up beside them. 4 men spilled out, all wearing red bandanas. Yo, ain't you the A3X boys? One of them, a bulky dude with a scar running down his cheek, sneered. Word on the street is you're hitting for big money. And ain't nobody hitting in our hood without paying homage. We don't pay nobody shit, Keys growled, stepping forward, his eyes locked on the scarred man. Y'all ain't got nothing to do with what we doing. Oh, we do now, motherfucker. The scarred man pulled out a Glock. We want a cut. 500 racks for every car you move out of Baltimore, or we start sending you home in body bags. The standoff was tense, the air crackling with unspoken violence. Tay slowly reached for his waist, but Keys shook his head. They were outnumbered. We'll consider it, Keys said, his voice laced with venom. But you come near our operation again, you're going to be begging for mercy, believe that. The 9/10ths watched them walk away, their threats hanging in the humid Baltimore night. The A3X boys were caught between a rock and a hard place, the long arm of the law and the deadly grip of a rival gang. The 50 million was looking further away than ever. Chapter 7. Betrayal. The constant pressure from both the police and the 9/10ths started to fray nerves. The arguments among the crew grew more frequent, more vicious. Bo Lo was almost a ghost, his silence a heavy weight. Rico, meanwhile, was getting sloppy, the thrill-seeking overriding any sense of caution. One rainy Tuesday, a new A3X model was released, and Kurt decided they needed to be the first to get their hands on it. It was parked in an underground garage beneath a luxury apartment building on Lancaster Street in Harbor East. The security was tight, a challenge they hadn't faced before. This ain't no regular snatch and grab, Jigger warned. The car's connected to the building's smart system. We gotta bypass the alarm, the cameras, and then the car itself. Kurt drew up a meticulous plan. Tay would disable the exterior cameras. Jigger would hack the internal network to create a blind spot. Keys and Rico would go in for the car. But Rico had been texting on the side. He had a new girl, a bartender from Fells Point, and he'd been trying to impress her with vague boasts of his hustle. He sent her a blurry picture of the building's entrance, joking about how he was about to secure the bag. What Rico didn't know was that the bartender was a cousin to one of the lieutenants in the 9/10ths. And she saw an opportunity. That night, as Tay was disabling the cameras, a black van screeched to a halt in the alleyway. Before he could react, 4 masked men jumped him. They didn't shoot. They just beat him mercilessly, leaving him a bloody mess in the rain. "Tell your boss," a gruff voice snarled as they left Tay bleeding. "We know where you keep your toys. And we know about the ships." Jigger, monitoring the comms from the van, heard Tay's cries. "Tay's down. We got company. It's the 9/10ths." Kurt immediately ordered a retreat. They found Tay barely conscious, his face swollen, a broken arm dangling uselessly. "They knew," Tay choked out, spitting blood. "They knew we were coming. They said they know about the ships." A cold dread spread through Kurt. Only the crew knew about the port of Baltimore, about the ships, about the scale of the operation. He looked at each man, his eyes burning with suspicion. Who talked? Who betrayed them? The answer, unspoken, hung heavy in the air. Rico, still wide-eyed with adrenaline from the aborted mission, avoided Kurt's gaze. His phone, which he'd hastily tried to pocket, vibrated with a message. "Good looking out, baby." That info was gold. The first crack had become a gaping chasm. Chapter 8, Collapse. The betrayal hit them like a physical blow. Kurt didn't need to ask. He saw the guilt on Rico's face, the way his eyes darted. "You stupid motherfucker," Kurt whispered, his voice dangerously low, his hands clenched into fists. "You risked 50 million. You risked our lives for some hoe-ass bragging rights." Rico tried to protest, to explain, but the words caught in his throat. "Get the fuck out," Kurt commanded, pointing to the door of the warehouse. "You ain't part of this no more. And if I ever see your sorry ass again in this city, I'm gonna personally put a bullet in your head." But Rico's betrayal had already set off a chain reaction. The 9/10ths, emboldened, launched a full-scale assault. They knew the location of one of their smaller stash houses in Brooklyn, a borough known for its industrial grit. That night, as Keyes and Bo Lowe were moving an A3X into the Brooklyn spot, a hail of gunfire erupted. The 9/10ths ambushed them. Keyes, true to his muscle, fought like a beast, but he was overwhelmed. Bo Lowe, caught in the crossfire, screamed as a bullet tore through his leg. "Run, Keyes. Get out of here," Bo Lowe yelled, trying to draw attention. Keyes, seeing Bo Lowe go down, made a split-second decision. He couldn't leave him. He laid down suppressive fire, but it was too much. The police sirens were wailing in the distance, drawn by the gunshots. The 9/10ths retreated, leaving Keyes and Bo Lowe bleeding, surrounded by 3 stolen A3XS. The BPD arrived within minutes. Detective Harding stepped out of his cruiser, his face grim as he surveyed the scene. He saw Keyes, a known enforcer, and Bo Lowe, bleeding heavily. The A3XS were unmistakable. Well, Harding muttered. "Looks like we found some of our A3X boys." Keyes and Bo Lowe were arrested, their dreams of 50 million vanishing with the flashing blue lights. The news spread like wildfire. 2 of the A3X boys were caught. The operation was compromised. Back in the main warehouse, Kurt slammed his fist against a wall. God damn it, Rico. You fucked us all." Jigger was frantically wiping servers, encrypting communications, trying to salvage what was left. Jay was on the phone with his sisters, warning them to lay low, to halt all operations. "We got 43 cars, Jigger said, his voice flat. "Less than half. And no way to move them now. The port will be crawling with cops." The carefully constructed empire was crumbling. The vision of a lifetime of freedom, a clean slate, was shattering. The A3X boys were no longer untouchable. They were exposed, vulnerable, and facing the full force of a city that wanted them brought down. Chapter 9. The Ghost of the Port. The warehouse in Dundalk felt like a tomb. Kurt sat in the dark, the silhouette of 43 Ameliorate 3XS looking like expensive tombstones. Keyes and Bo Lowe were in central booking, facing charges that would bury them for decades. Rico was in hiding, likely somewhere in Essex, praying Kurt didn't find him before the police did. "We done, Kurt," Jay said, leaning against the cold metal of a bay door. "The 9/10ths know the port. The feds are watching the gates. We got 3 weeks until the 31st. It's over." Kurt looked up, his eyes bloodshot. "It ain't over. We just gotta stop playing by their rules. We need a ghost." He called Jigger over. You said these A3XS are fully autonomous if you bypass the regional lock, right? Yeah, Jigga nodded. The hardware is there, but the software is geofenced. Why? I want you to ghost code these cars, Kurt said, a manic glint in his eye. We ain't driving M to the port. We're gonna let M drive themselves. 100 cars, rolling through the city like a phantom fleet. But we only got 43. Jigga protested. Not for long, Kurt growled. Tell the sisters. It's time for the final push. No more stealth. We're taking everything. Chapter 10, LA Heat. In Los Angeles, Big Cece wasn't playing. She had heard about Bolo and Keys. She grabbed her crew, a group of girls from Crenshaw who could strip a car in 6 minutes flat. Listen up, bitches, she shouted over the roar of the 110 freeway. We got 10 days to get 25 whips. Hit the valet stands in Beverly Hills. Hit the charging stations in Santa Monica. If a nigger tries to stop you, fuck him up. They hit a line of A3XS parked at a high-end gala on Wilshire Boulevard. Cece herself popped the column of a pearl-white model. A security guard ran out, yelling, "Hey, get away from that car, you hoe." Cece didn't blink. She reached into her waistband, flashed the grip of her 9, and sneered. Fuck you in this car, nigger. It's ours now. They moved 20 cars in 4 days, loading them onto a carrier disguised as a movie production transport, headed for the East Coast. Chapter 10, LA Heat. In Los Angeles, Big Cece wasn't playing. She had heard about Bolo and Keys. She grabbed her crew, a group of girls from Crenshaw who could strip a car in 6 minutes flat. Listen up, bitches, she shouted over the roar of the 110 freeway. We got 10 days to get 25 whips. Hit the valet stands in Beverly Hills. Hit the charging stations in Santa Monica. If a nigger tries to stop you, fuck him up. They hit a line of A3XS parked at a high-end gala on Wilshire Boulevard. Cece herself popped the column of a pearl-white model. A security guard ran out, yelling, "Hey, get away from that car, you hoe." Cece didn't blink. She reached into her waistband, flashed the grip of her 9, and sneered. Fuck you in this car, nigger. It's ours now. They moved 20 cars in 4 days, loading them onto a carrier disguised as a movie production transport, headed for the East Coast. Chapter 11, Houston Hustle. Day was feeling the pressure in Houston. The Texas State Troopers were aggressive, patrolling I-10 with a vengeance. She had her guys in the 3rd Ward working overtime. We need 10 more. Day yelled into her phone, standing outside a chicken shack on Scott Street. I don't care if you got a snatch. M while they're at a red light on Westheimer. Get M. They targeted a dealership overflow lot near Sugar Land. It was a risky move, but Day knew the layout. They used a tow truck with stolen plates to snatch 5 A3XS in broad daylight. When a passerby started recording on their phone, one of Day's hitters smashed the window. Stop recording, you bitch-ass nigger. This ain't for TikTok. They were at 22 cars. The transport was leaving at midnight. Chapter 12, Missouri Madness. Zoe was in St. Louis, and she was doing it hood style. Man, these A3XS are everywhere in Clayton, she told Jay over an encrypted line. She didn't use tech, she used distraction. Her girls would stage a fight in the middle of the street, near a parking garage on Grand Boulevard. When the owners got out to see what was happening, Zoe's boys would slip in with the USB cables. Goddamn, look at 'em run. Zoe laughed as she watched a silver A3X peel out, leaving a confused businessman standing in the rain. She secured her 15 cars, but the heat was rising. The Missouri Highway Patrol was shutting down exits. She had to move the cars through the backwoods of Illinois to get them toward Baltimore. Chapter 13, The Darkest Night. December 24th. Baltimore was a fortress. Detective Harding had units at every entrance to the port. He knew the deadline was New Year's Eve. They're coming, Harding told his sergeant. I can feel it. The cargo ships the Lagos Star and the Benin Queen are already anchored in the bay, waiting for their slot. Kurt was back in the warehouse. The sisters had delivered. The total count, 102 A3XS. But they were trapped. The police had the warehouse surrounded, tucked back in an industrial park off Broning Highway. They got us boxed in, Kurt, Tay whispered, checking the mags on his piece. BPD, SWAT, they're all out there. Jigga, you ready? Kurt asked. Jigga sat at a laptop, his fingers trembling. He had spent the last 72 hours writing a worm that would override the A3X's central nervous system. The Ghost Protocol is live, Jigga said. Every car in here, and every car we parked in the staging areas around the city, they're all linked. When I hit enter, they move. Do it, Kurt said. Chapter 14. The Phantom Parade. At 11 p.m. on December 30th, the city of Baltimore witnessed a miracle and a nightmare. From the warehouse in Dundalk, from alleyways in West Baltimore, from parking decks in Towson, 100 Ameliorate A3X turned on simultaneously. Their headlights flickered to life. No drivers. No noise. They began to roll. They converged on the port of Baltimore from 10 different directions. The police were baffled. They stopped one car, only to find it empty, the steering wheel spinning by itself. Then 5 more rolled past. Then 10. Dispatch, we have a situation. A patrolman on Holabird Avenue stuttered. Empty cars are everywhere. They're ignoring commands. They're heading for the gates. Harding saw the fleet approaching the main port entrance. Block the gates. Use the cruisers. But the A3XS were smart. Jigger was routing them through the service entrances, through the gaps in the chain-link fences that Keyes had cut weeks ago before his arrest. Chapter 15. The Fireworks. The clock struck 11:45 p.m. on December 31st. The first cargo ship, the Lagos Star, lowered its massive ramp. The cars, programmed like a line of ants, drove themselves up the ramp and into the hold. Kurt, Jay, and Tay were on the docks, hidden in the shadows of shipping containers. 98, 99, 100, Jigger whispered over the radio from a remote location. A notification popped up on Kurt's phone. A crypto wallet address. The balance, $50 million in Bitcoin. The Eagle has landed. A text came in from a bidemi in Africa. Happy New Year, Baltimore. Suddenly, the sky exploded. The New Year's Eve fireworks at the inner harbor began, lighting up the sky in shades of red, gold, and blue. We did it, Tay breathed, tears mixing with the sweat on his face. Goddamn, we really did it. Chapter 16. Redemption and the Great End. The aftermath was a whirlwind. Kurt didn't keep all the money. He wasn't that nigger anymore. He used $10 million to hire the best legal team in the country for Keyes and Bo Lowe. Within 6 months, the evidence against them was deemed tainted due to an illegal wiretap Harding had authorized in his desperation. They walked out of Maryland Metropolitan Transition Center as free men. He sent $5 million to each of the sisters. Cece bought a legitimate trucking company in LA. Day opened a youth center in Houston to keep kids off the streets. Zoe moved her family out of Missouri and into a mansion in the hills. Rico. They found him. They didn't kill him, but Kurt made sure he knew his clout was dead. He was exiled, forever a hoe-ass nigger, in the eyes of the city. 1 year later, December 31st, 2026. The whole crew, Kurt, Jay, Tay, Keyes, Bo Lowe, Jigger, and the 3 sisters, met on a private beach in Zanzibar, Africa. They were guests of a bidemi. They sat around a massive table filled with lobster, champagne, and the finest weed. The sun was setting over the Indian Ocean. To the A3X, Kurt raised his glass. To the glitch that made us rich. Zoe yelled, her hood accent still thick even in paradise. And to Baltimore, Bo Lowe added, looking at his scarred leg, a reminder of the price they paid. The city that raised us, but couldn't hold us. As the fireworks started over the ocean, Kurt looked at his family. They weren't thieves anymore. They were legends. They had beaten the system, the streets, and themselves. The A3X boys were gone, but the ghosts of those 100 cars still haunted the streets of Baltimore, a reminder that sometimes the biggest glitches lead to the greatest escapes.